now moving on to our next speaker, Mahiema. Mahiema is from India, and she is on our Europe stream right now. And she is a filmmaker with decades of experience producing fictional TVs, documentaries, and human interest stories, many times unraveling superstitions by applying a rational, scientific lens. Let's welcome her onto the Higher Self Expo stage. Thank you for being here, Mahiema.
Hello, Tania. Hello, everybody.
Thank you.
Warm wishes from India.
Thank you. I will give you the stage online and remove myself from the stream here.
Thank you, Tania.
Can't wait to hear you. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. As you already heard from Tania, I make documentary films, and I've been doing it for the last 2 decades. Now, science has not been my subject, and it has not even been my strong point. But somewhere along the line, I think universe has a way of teaching you. So starting from school to college, and then understanding science vis-a-vis the social conditioning or the place where we live in or we grow up in, what it teaches us about life. That involved a lot of understanding as to how science and spirituality were interwoven. But the work which I did, which I took on later on in terms of making films, that was instrumental in giving me a clear understanding as to where science and spirituality merge and where they overlap with each other. It's like where science ends, spirituality begins, and vice versa. Now, in common language, science is understood as something which you observe, which you identify, then describe, give it a description, then get into investigation, and then probably with evidence, you explain it. But on the other hand, spirituality is formless, is actually walking the path of the unknown, the unseen, and it has no evidence. Of course, you see the result at the end of it, but it has not got a process. So how come they merge, or how come these two fields overlap and come together? And how do we understand that, as this expo is trying to tell us? So in my experience as a filmmaker, I would say that when I was growing up, being brought up in a Hindu family, so Hinduism, as you know, believes in a lot of deities and a lot of form of God. So for me, understanding that was instrumental in my own evolution, in my own growth as a person to understand God, so to say. So I actually went on this journey, and I took on filmmaking basically to be able to unravel that. And fair enough, universe showed me many projects, many films. Each film was teaching me something different, something new about understanding science. So I will take an example. The first film, I started my career as a fictional filmmaker for television. And when I jumped in, I had not come from a film school. I had not done the bookish knowledge of cinema. So I was only following my heart. But when I got into the field, I realized that there is a science to cinema. There's a science to filming. And I remember so many times I made these faux pas, and everybody in my team would come and tell me, "Ma'am, you're crossing the line of access." And I don't understand that, because for me, what really mattered was how impactful the scene was in terms of bringing out the right emotion. How much anybody who's watching it is going to be impacted or is going to be inspired by that scene. And how much will they be able to relate to it? So it was something like for me, it was like, for everybody, actually, they thought that I was goofing up and I was making huge mistakes. But because I wanted to really listen to my heart, and because I really wanted to do as something that was really touching the other person, I went along, not really following the book, not really getting into the empirical knowledge of what cinema actually taught. And of course, there were big bads and there were people who were pointing a finger, but that really didn't bother me, because somewhere I knew that it was probably setting the foundation for me to where I had to walk later on. It was probably preparing me for a place where I would probably walk later on in my life. So, as luck would have it, and as the play of the universe happened, I was restless during the making of the entire fictional career. I was restless. I was not stimulated enough. Of course, I'm grateful because it actually brought sustenance in my life, but I knew it was not something. It was not a calling from my heart. So, I jumped out of my comfort zone and I jumped into a place which was unknown. So I started exploring that area. And the first film which I made, I remember, was on the oracles of Ladakh. They are actually the shamans of from India. So when I made that film, I started reading up a lot about them just to be able to understand what is shamanism. So I read a lot of stuff about shamans from various anthropologists around the world, and I understood that shamans actually were, you could say that they were the first ones who understood modern science. And because shamanism, started in the Andes, in the land of the Andes, and they were the wise men and women who were known as scientists. The vast knowledge they had of of astronomy, of oracles, and how they were connected to nature. And so basically, shamanism is known as the origin of modern science, and they were the alchemists. So the healing modality they actually followed was actually using the quantum field. And this field was actually called the quantum healing technique. So when I looked at them, of course, we were all spooked out, while we were filming with them, because they were doing crazy things. They were going into trance, they were connecting with the other realms and other planes. To a common person, it is all very spooky. It all comes across something which is mumbo jumbo. But actually, it's not, because I had read about it and I saw the result. I saw the evidence of how people right there in front of my eyes, within a few minutes, were getting healed. So that opened up this new vista, new chapter for me to delve deeper into it. And I also realized that there was a very strong, deep connection of all of creation. If these people could actually connect and relate to the other forces of nature, to the trees, to the clouds, to the other realms, so are the indigenous people, and they are known as the wise people. They are literally the pots of wisdom is sitting there. And today we are turning to them. We are turning to them, asking and seeking for answers. So this knowledge of science has been coming up for years and years, and it is only coming up from a place where there were no books, but there was this deep inner wisdom. And that's what I deeply, deeply respect. And much later, I made another film on Ayurveda and yoga. Ayurveda, as you know, is a healing science which has come out from India, and also I studied again, various books and all, and I realized that there is this oldest medical and surgical encyclopedia which was written in the 6th century BC, and is called Sashruta Samhita. Now, Sashruta is known as the father of modern surgery, Indian surgery. So, in fact, surgery came from that period, so it was understood at that period. And Sashruta Samhita, which is the text which was written in 6th century BC, has more than 1,000 illnesses explained. It has more than 700 medicinal plants mentioned, and various techniques of surgeries mentioned in that. So if that is coming from there, then obviously that kind of scientific knowledge is something which we have imbibed. And Sashruta Samhita actually also provides the foundation on which Ayurveda is based. And Ayurveda is very scientific. So while we were making the film on Ayurveda, I remember we had taken a group of Dutch people who had flown in from Holland to India, and we had all gone to this place in Kerala, which is the hub of Ayurveda. And every day they would get their regular checkups, and they would get their treatments, and they couldn't figure out that how could something like mud on your stomach could heal, say for instance, huge serious ailment in your stomach, or how could water therapy heal you, but not realizing that each of these, whether it is water, whether it is earth, or whether it is any plant, they all have a soul, and they all listen to human beings. They all understand the language of healing of human beings. So if that connection is there, and if that deep inner connection is made with anything in nature, be it clouds, be it trees, be it plant, be it earth, be it water, anything, it talks back to us. So there is a science to that. There is a science, and then it also brought about a lot of interest in me to explore this further, to understanding symbols, to understanding science, to understanding sound, to understanding, because all of this is interconnected. And then I remember another film. I'm just taking you through one story after another, because these films actually brought me to a place where I am today, because I so understand science now, which I never understood all of my school life. I mean, all these films have actually taught me more science than I ever studied in any book in the school. So it's interesting how science became woven as a very important part of my filmmaking journey, and also how it made me understand spirituality better. So there was another film which I made, which was called Sadhana, the Art of Devotion. Because, as I said earlier, that I was very interested in knowing what are these rituals in Hinduism all about? What do they teach us? Is it just dogmas? Is it just sitting and praying and following the rituals without having any understanding of it? No, it had a deeper meaning to it. And I wanted to explore this further. I wanted to understand this further. So I started making this film. And I realized, to my surprise, that every single ritual has science to it, has a scientific understanding to it. For instance, if any of you enter a Hindu temple, you realize that you take off your shoes outside and you go barefoot. And then when you ring a bell, and then you break a coconut and you offer that coconut to the deity, and then you prostrate on the ground, and then you apply a tika on your third eye, on your forehead, or you do parikrama, which is you go around the deity. All this, believe me, there is a science behind all this. And I'll tell you how. Because I went to Orissa. Orissa is a place in southern, a bit southern part of India. And I went there, and I went to the Sun Temple It is in Konark. It's called the Konark Temple, and it is the Sun Temple. Now, the Sun Temple is very scientifically made. And I'm just going to read out a little bit because the sun god is worshipped there. And the statue of sun god which is built inside. It is made with a material which has iron content in it, and it is supposed to be floating in air without getting any physical support. And why is it that? Because it's got an arrangement of magnets on the top, at the bottom, and around the temple. And because of which the statue is in a position to be just suspended in air. And the main attention of the temple is at the base of the temple, which has got 12 pairs of wheels at the base. Now, these are not ordinary wheels. These are wheels which have spokes, and these spokes actually create a sundial. Now, what does it do? That one can calculate the time of the day by just looking at the shadow which are made by these spokes. And this was made God knows when, you know. So another very interesting thing is the copper plates. The copper plates, which are inscribed with the Vedic scriptures or Vedic scripts, are buried under the idol of the sun god. Now, what do these copper does? Copper plates actually absorbs the earth's magnetic waves, and it radiates to its surroundings. That's why they say when you enter the temple, walk barefoot. Because when you walk barefoot, you are receiving these beamed magnetic waves which enter your body, and body absorbs it. And that's why when you go inside the temple, it gives you a very pleasing feeling. It gives you a very calming effect, because not every temple is made with these ingredients, but yes, some temples are made in a very scientific way. And the bell here is also no ordinary bell. The bell is made of multiple elements. It is made of metals, like it has copper, nickel, magnesium, and chromium. Now, what does it do when it has all these metals included in the bell? So when you ring it, it makes sound for 7 seconds. And that means that it is actually touching all the 7 chakras of the human body. So just doing this opened up this new understanding of even Hinduism for me, because I realized that it's not just about dogmas, it's just not about the rituals. It is how you imbibe what has been gifted to us in terms of this huge wisdom, huge knowledge. Like the earlier speaker also spoke about the autobiography of a yogi. She spoke about various modalities like pranic healing and all that. They're all coming from a period when there was the understanding of human body in a very scientific way. So when we study this now, we've got to put the two together. We've got to put, and that now brings me to the two projects which I have been working on for the last 2 years, ever since COVID started. And I do shirk from the knowledge of science to a large extent, but what you resist persists. So science comes to me in bucketful when I least expect it or ask for it. And that's what happened with my project, which is called Shifting Tides. So when I started it last year, the whole idea of this was to bring people on one platform, and they share their aha moments. They share their moments of transformation, which actually made them who they are today. What brought them to do and be the people they are today. And I started it as a very small project, and I said, okay, I'm going to just interview my friends and make it into a web series, knowing very little that actually people who are going to come on are scientists, are going to be scientists. They are going to be bringing out information vis-a-vis Akashic records. the connectedness, how we are able to heal on the quantum field, how we are able to do soul healing, and everything was science-based. And I remember when I was interviewing a couple of people last year, they actually made me read 2 or 3 huge books on how are we interpreting soul, or how are we neglecting soul? Have we neglected it, or is it something that we really need to relook seriously? And I realized that if you heal the soul, your mind and body heals automatically. And this is coming from a doctor, a trained doctor, Master Shah. So what I felt that Shifting Tides has also taken me one step ahead in understanding science vis-a-vis healing of human body, human, and the planet Earth in total, because today that is what we need. And that's why I think this expo, thanks to Zain and all the other hosts for putting this together and bringing this information out, because the whole world as of now needs this more than any other time. And as a next step, what we are doing now is we have created something called the fifth element. And why fifth element? Because, as I said earlier, that everything is interconnected, everything. And even the elements, the 5 elements, they got to be all together and in harmony to be able to have harmony outside. Because if any of the element is in misalignment from one another, then obviously there will be a misalignment of sorts and there won't be any harmony. So we decided that we are going to bring together the 4 elements, and the 5th element is obviously looking up at the divine and bringing the divine as an umbrella and bringing all these forces together and bringing about the harmony we so need on planet Earth. So the 5th element is our endeavor, is our initiative, which we are going to bring towards the later part of this year. And we will create a platform just like Higher Self Expo, where we are inviting people, an international platform where we are inviting people to come and use that platform to bring about any modality they feel, scientific, non-scientific. Well, there's nothing called non-scientific. Science and spirituality are hand in glove. So anything to do with science, spirituality, as a healing modality, as something, whether they're using sound, whether they're using fire, whether they're using water, whether they're using any element to heal, that is an element which will actually take humans to another level of growth, of transformation, of rejuvenation, and of healing. So any questions, if anybody has, or anyone, because please don't ask me scientific questions. I have understood science with regards to my work, but yes, I have very little knowledge. So whatever you wish to ask me vis-a-vis what I've spoken about, please come forward and ask. I'd be happy to address them.
Thank you so much, Mahiema. So much juice and content in there. Really, really lovely. We are waiting for some people to ask questions, but we do have some beautiful comments here. Sandra Deacon saying, so true. If you heal the soul, you heal mind and body.
Yes.
And there are other comments here. Smita Joshi, also one of our speakers, bringing together completely with you, Mahiema.
Oh, wow.
Paula says, love Ayurveda and its benefits. And we really don't have any questions so far because what you're sharing is so out of the ordinary. I believe that would be the reason why really it's just listening to you, you know.
You know, I remember when we first spoke, I just didn't know what to speak. And then when I was looking back in retrospect, and I said, oh my God, every film actually taught me so much of science. So much of science, which I had never ever imagined I'll know, because I was absolutely zilch in science in school.
Yeah, well, the idea of that we have of science, because at the end
Yeah.
of the day, we are all learned in science, but we don't
Yes.
know about it.
Nothing.
That's what you've been sharing so beautifully.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So here we have, I cannot read this name, but it's a person from Korea asking where he or she can see your movies in your website. We would say also in the YouTube channel, right?
Yes, yes. So I can give you my YouTube channel,
We've
and
put
I
it
can
somewhere here. We'll put it here.
Okay, okay. So it's YouTube slash.
We'll put it here. It's on here. Okay.
So, and slash Mahiema Anand Films as a one word.
Okay. So
Mahiema Anand Films. Yeah, that's right. This is it.
there you are.
Yeah. So,
Beautiful.
and at the moment it is flooded with shifting tides because we are on season 2. But if you go back, then you'd be able to see some of the films. Yes.
Shifting Tides is also a wonderful, wonderful program.
Yes,
Actually, please go on.
Yeah. In fact, tonight we have Zain on our show. Zain Daniel.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And do watch Zain Daniel. He's amazing on the show on Shifting Tides. It gets premiered in 5 hours. Yeah, 5 hours from now, 8 p.m. IST, Indian Standard Time. So, yeah. So it would be lovely if people could watch it.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mahiema.
Thank you. Thank you.